Well, everybody, time being 4:30, we will open the Town Administrator Evaluation Committee. Okay. Jamie, just to start off, I'll say a few things if that's okay with you.
Yep.
Again, this is our Administrator Annual Review. As part of the contract the council signed with the administrator, we were required to do an annual review. We'll do a bigger review at the council meeting, but just to get things together to move to the council, we're just gonna talk about quickly your main performances on the goals. And as we all know, the last 6 years, you've hit a home run with all your goals. So we're all on track with that. And in January, we gave you an extensive list of goals. And we all know that you will work on those diligently, and money helping, maybe we'll get them all done.
Yep.
So, like I said, we're just here to review your progress, and the goals are already set. A couple other quick things. I just want to say, in our additional points, everyone does know that you have exemplary customer service. And that's, I think, it's my favorite point about you being here, your customer service. Everybody gets a call back. Everybody, I think, feels good after expressing their point of view. And the other strong point, too, that we're going to need is the recruitment and retention of staff. In these, with the budget coming up, the tough times, I think we're really going to appreciate your skills there. And what else? Well, lastly, just to bring up the schools, I think we're very lucky to have you, because that is going to be our biggest issue this year, is making sure the schools, I don't want to say stay whole, but at least be able to, we'll do our duty to educate the kids of this town. And I'll just ask you if you want to say anything back.
No, through you, Mr. Chairman, before you go to the other members, just, as I've said many times before, it's the best job I've ever had in my life. I never thought I'd ever be doing this for a living. But the biggest thing I've said in my tenure here is that, and I think my predecessor felt the same way, is just that all of you totally allow me to be who I am, which allows me and the rest of the staff to be who they are, and that brings out the best in all of us. All of your support has been, incredibly helpful and inspiring, and I feel like by now we've all been through a lot together the last 5 years. I can't wait to be at the senior center someday and say, well, I was town manager during the 2020s. It just feels like there's no issue this decade that's been off the table, and fortunately I've got the staff and the team that we have here in Franklin. We're very blessed. I say it every year during the budget meetings. We can all complain about what we don't have, but also think about what we do have. And Jeff was right. I can't do this without the staff that we have. We can't do this without you. Hope you can't feel like you can't do what we do without us. And we just think we're very, very lucky to always have a very, very friendly and collegial relationships. And I think we have gotten a lot done. I think the goals speak to that. It's a team effort. People say to me on LinkedIn all the time, you're like, oh my gosh, not 8 years already. And I just keep saying time flies when we're having fun. I mean,
I can't believe that.
we are having a lot of fun. It's a tough job, but we have a great team and we've got great relationships, and I'm very blessed for that. So thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. I'll just go to the members quickly here. Councilor DeLuca.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have to definitely agree with Brian as he talked about you. I know we have some tough years coming up. I mean, hopefully a couple of years, and I think we'll get through them. We've had them before, and I do what do you think that, it's going to be a long 2 years, you figure?
Yeah, it will be. I mean, in terms of the future, yeah. I mean, I think people are going to look at Franklin as they should. But
Yeah.
when Amy and I and Karen, who's now been appointed to the Mass Human Resources Board at the MMA level too, as Amy and Karen and all of us go, and I think all of our colleagues go to every town. I mean, we're not alone.
No, that's
I think the
actually what I
cost
wanted to-
pressures are just on every
exactly what
municipality.
I wanted you to say, you know?
Yeah,
So-
I mean, just our neighboring communities, Norfolk, Plainville, Rentham, a lot of other communities around here are all looking at huge deficits. Many communities are looking at overrides.
Yeah.
They're also looking at debt exclusions. We've already taken care of Tri-County School Franklin, but they haven't yet. So they have those cost pressures on them. I think a lot of people don't consider what you all go through. People ask for everything out of local government, which is a great thing to be trusted like that, but, there's nobody who says no to people more than me, and it's hard to say that, but I think in the next couple of years, everyone's gonna have to just probably leave a lot of ideas that they have of how Franklin can be a better community are probably just not gonna ever happen soon. And I think that's the hardest part for all of us, because we all care a lot. I mean, you guys all work in the public sector like I do too, right? I mean, we
Yeah,
didn't do this,
all
we do
three
this
of us
because we
do.
care.
Exactly.
I'm just like looking at it, realizing right now, wait a minute, you're all, and we're not here, we're here because we care a lot, right? And
we
it's just
do.
gonna take a lot of
We
us, unfortunately, to look at a lot of people and just say, I just don't think we have the bandwidth to do all these things right now. So the next couple of years are gonna be tough, I think, particularly for the schools, but, we've got some ideas, and I think we'll engage the community on all that, and typical Franklin fashion, I think people will come together, hopefully within 2 years.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think we will. But on Brian's point about basically your open door policy and everything that you do, I'm probably the only counselor here that I actually had Jeff, and I love Jeff. He actually taught me a lot. Jeff's a great guy. But you took the open door policy to another level, so I have to congratulate you on that, because you do a great job. Most of the time when I call you about something, you already know about it, which means somebody got to you before I did, which is a good thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, you know what I mean? So,
It happens a lot.
yeah. I think you do a great job, Jamie. That's all I can say.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you, Councilor DeLucco.
And,
Councilor Sheridan, anything?
Chair, through you, so what is the root cause, you think, with the budget problems everywhere? Is it?
This is gonna sound, I'm gonna be on camera saying this, I think this is a little hokey, but I still think I honestly still believe that we're still, as a society, trying to make our way through the tidal waves that came after the pandemic.
Yeah.
And I think people are still trying to find a new rhythm. And with Congress being admittedly just completely broken, and the House and Senate are like 50-50 in terms of party line, I think that shows the divide in our country, but they're not getting anything done. So the pressures then come down to the state government, and I think we've seen the struggles there with,
Same thing.
our values, which are very moral around, obviously, migrants, children, schools, clean energy, climate change. We're looking at Situate, in other communities right now, and I think if you aggregate all that up, I just think we're accessible. You guys are always around town. You're easy to find. For people that are looking for help in their life or enhance their quality of life, they're gonna come to us probably first
Before Congress.
before writing a letter to Beacon Hill or Congress, because they just aren't gonna think that something's gonna happen. And so the pressures, everyone's kind of voicing to the elected officials, the school committee, councils, boards of selectmen, mayors, like, they're going to you for everything. Civility, to flags, to, to financial issues, to net zero, to, EV chargers, green, build roads. We need more sidewalks. We need more police. We want people to stop speeding. We need ambulance calls. I just think the volume of what we're dealing with, housing, I mean, you could think of any issue. And I think I think people are not taking it out of on us, but I think people are requesting out of their elected officials that they can see, touch, and know, and hopefully have a little faith that maybe some of you can make a difference where Congress just isn't. And I think that was about as evident as it could be in the last week.
Yes.
Just, you know, and then you've got a lot of ticket splitting people too. They're voting for things that normally would but didn't because it wasn't enough. And it's just, I think for the American public, just in general, I think Franklin residents too, I think people are just, I think we're more approachable, we're more accessible, and therefore the request list is a lot higher. And like I've said before, like when we did the goals this year, I was like begging, take some off. Because I think financially, I don't know if it's affordable. And I think every community is everyone's having a big existential crisis at the local level now about how they're gonna finance everything. And we're the ones that are limited. The federal government can print money. Beacon Hill can borrow money at a huge rate. We're capped under Prop 2.5
That's what I was gonna say.
without voter interjection. So now you're gonna get greater inequity,
Yeah.
right? And even Newton voted against an override last year to prepare for their issue, and that didn't work. So if Newton's not there, I think you're gonna get even greater inequity with all the debt exclusions and overrides that are clearly being talked about. I mean, Westford's having one, Acton's having one. I mean, you go down the list of communities up and down that are having emergency discussions over overrides because they just can't finance it all. I think the cost pressures are just too great.
So Newton voted down override last year then?
Yeah.
I did.
In anticipation of
Also
what they
this-
just went through.
Yeah.
Then they go through it,
Yeah.
and the mayor says they have to lay off 50 to 70 public employees. And then the public doesn't want to accept that. So a little bit of it's just a little bit of it it's a little bit dog and pony show
Yeah.
for us as managers to try to go through all this. And I think generally speaking here, we've done a really good job with the council too. You know, we talked about community preservation for years. We talked about the Beaver Street Interceptor for years. We talked about stormwater for 15 years, right? People in Franklin were used to those issues. So when those costs go up, Tri-County, people were like, okay, I know the school's coming up. I know they need a new school and they're familiar with it. I think to your point, Councilor Sheridan, right now, there's a lot of panic because nobody knows where this came from. But I think a lot of it's still just kind of stemming from
COVID, yeah.
COVID, of just trying to get back into a new rhythm. I think a lot of people, rightfully so, by the way, are looking for the labor market to show them some love over what people feel like they did awfully heroic work too during 2020 and 2021. And I can't argue with them. I think that's true. All of you and us made a commitment to our employees through the federal stimulus money, and that helped people feel valued a lot. But in other communities, they didn't do that. Very few did that, and therefore, they're feeling those cost pressures within their budgets. And so you're seeing a lot of communities looking at 3, 4, 5, 7. I think Acton told me recently they were looking at a $7 million override. Westford's in the same boat. And you're starting to hear conversations of huge layoffs in neighboring towns at a time when we're more in demand than probably ever before,
Yes,
right?
good point.
And I think that's one thing you'll hear from the fire chief during the budget debate. They just keep having record-breaking amounts of calls every year. I'm not making that happen. People are calling them
Yeah.
for whatever reason, So, just a theory at least.
I have two other questions.
Three.
So I guess, like, in
You have the floor.
your experience, like, in local government, is there ever good years where the money really comes in, or is that just not because of Prop 2.5 is always?
I think where you get most, the Prop 2.5 is pretty basic, so you just times last year's levy 2.5%, but I think where there's more growth or less growth is really, how are in the case of Franklin, how are your hotels filling up?
Yeah, okay. Vacations, yes.
Is there a thriving local business market where people are eating out? I think we've talked about the marketing initiatives that have been
Yeah.
kind of postponed but kicked back, and I think that's why we put the World Cup on the, that's
Good idea.
that's an out-of-town financial benefit to the community.
Yeah.
And there's also it's an international marketplace to think of investment in your community, right?
Yeah.
The world is going to be looking 6 miles away, and it's a really opportunity to almost promote your community to a global environment. There's a lot there. How do you take advantage of that? I think Councilor Chandler mentions it almost every meeting. The tax rate split between residents and businesses,
Yeah,
right? It's
right.
about 80-20. Sometimes it's 81-19, sometimes it's 79-21, but it's 80-20. That ratio is a very, very healthy ratio. And I think we want to maintain that. Because that's one way to try to thwart the 2.5 issue, is to have positive new growth numbers, personal property investments, additions onto people's homes, you know? I mean, all that's valuation that the town captures that kind of helps out its budget.
That's good.
One more?
So, just for your experience with other states, I mean, other states that they don't have 2.5, is it helpful to the local government, or have you heard?
It's really hard because I think Prop 2.5 has been here for like 43 years now, and there's a lot of discussion about whether it should be Prop 3, Prop 3.5, which has its own downsides. I think inflation's at a 42-year high, so I think we would all love to think that maybe at some point that would settle out. It's also hard because there were years where there was zero inflation for a long time, right? 0% interest rates on mortgages. You know, we all know what happened in '08 with the housing collapse. I don't know, sometimes it's hard to, I don't know, sometimes like you wonder like how an economist figures that stuff out. Do you average 10, 20, 40 years and say 2.5 is the average? My financial advisor might say yes. But on the same end, you know, I think there's an affordability component to it as well that I think is going to be a sobering element this year about the affordability of Franklin, not just fixed incomes, but we've heard a lot about the stress on the food pantry, the stress on free and reduced lunch at the schools, the stress on housing costs, and at some point I think if it was higher, are we making Massachusetts less affordable?
No, by all means.
Yeah.
200,000 people left the state in the last couple of years. It's tough to say.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure somebody's going to do hopefully at some point like a review of Prop 2.5 from like an economist scale, of like my financial advisor or something. Somebody else who knows economics really, really well. Like, is that the right number? It's almost like Coke in Massachusetts, right? It's like you just know Coke is a soda. You just know what it is. Like 2.5, everybody knows what Prop 2.5 is. The taxes go up 2.5% every year. You know, it's a well-known, everyone knows it. It's its own brand. So
Branded.
it's its own brand. It'll be interesting to see how it all goes because we're at a high level now, but does that come down again and even out? It's tough to say.
That's it.
All set?
Yeah.
Thank you, Councilor Sheridan. Lastly, before I make another motion, this is gonna all come out more at the council meeting when everybody gets to speak towards you, but the people at home have to appreciate just that you understand every aspect of this town government. I mean, just years and years and years of knowledge that we get from you,
Yeah.
and we appreciate that.
Thank you.
I gotta say that, because there's just so much, every little thing. I don't know how you do with every single, you know, DPW, police, schools, town clerks.
I was managing a regional dispatch meeting today with 26 police and fire chiefs in Foxborough to regionalize with them, and I was like, oh my God. Like,
I don't know how we, I don't know.
I know.
sometimes, yeah, it's a lot of little, healthcare, right? Health insurance, we just talked about
Healthcare
that
is-
earlier. But, you know, I've been lucky enough to have in a lot of great positions. You know, obviously the experience at the state has helped a lot through the years.
For sure.
And I got a great team here to learn from. I mean, it's just not me. I mean, I wouldn't be able to do this without, you know, Chief McLaughlin or, you know, or Karen or Kerry or anybody. I mean, we've got a great staff.
Okay. I would like to make a motion to move the administrator's evaluation to the council.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, and if you don't have anything else, Jamie,
All set, Mr. Chairman.
I would like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Non-debatable. Thank you, everybody.